Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make over some silver plated pieces, and none of these pieces are real. Some have some tarnish. This one I decided not to do it because as it turns out it didn't look right doing it the style that I decided to do these in. But I'm going to be giving all of these a makeover. And I'm going to start with this tray. And I mixed some kudzu, the color kudzu, and collard greens and white. And I couldn't tell you how much. I just kind of mixed until I got this color. But I really like the color that I ended up with. I don't know if you would call this a light sage green maybe. But I was real happy with the color that I got. So I gave this 2 coats of this color, and I purposely left the back of this because I do like to show the silver plate, that this piece was originally a silver plate piece, and when you do that, you just kind of have to make sure that that you keep the back neat and you don't get some of the color on it. So I painted that and the bulb, both of those 2 coats of this color. And now I'm going to be using some of the transfer from Dixie Belle called Vintage Post. And I just decided on this piece and cut it to fit into this plate. And then I'm just going to transfer that there and give this a coat of clear matte finish. And then this piece will be finished. And then for the bowl that I painted, I have a set called Floral Romance from, also from Dixie Belle. And I will say that that's really not one of my favorites. So I'm just kind of trying to use that one up. But I wanted to kind of keep this a little neutral. So I picked some of my neutral flowers. And I'm just going to transfer those just to the top edge of the outside of the bowl. And like I said, this is not really one that I would purchase again because there's some purple and fuchsia colored flowers, and they're all big, and that's just not really my style. I was just trying out some of the transfers just to see what I ended up with. And like I said, this is probably not one that I'll get again. Although this flower here I think is pretty. The majority of that transfer is darker colored flowers. And again, I'll give this a clear sealer coat when I'm all finished also. I wouldn't say that either of these are food safe at this point. It's just for looks. They could be washed, but I wouldn't do any heavy washing of them. And before I put a clear sealer coat on this, then I decided to add some stamps to it. So I'm going to use some of the stamps from the set I See Paris. And I'll just stamp that, or one of the stamps from that set, and I'll just stamp that on both the front and the back. Now, because this is a round surface and it's smaller on the bottom than it is on the top, then obviously it's going to be hard to position and stamp this stamp. But you just kind of have to be very careful, and once you decide where you want it and put it on there, just find a place in the middle to really press your thumb and hold it in place, and make sure that you don't let that move at all. So that's the key, is always keep one hand secure on it to make sure that you don't get any smudging. And then I didn't think about it when I did this side, and then I remembered that one of my viewers mentioned a much better way to do this. So that one turned out okay, but for the next one, I decided to try her trick. And she said to use box tape. But I didn't have any box tape, so I decided to use masking tape. And what I did was I inked my stamp up, and then I put it on some box tape. So I just kind of put some layers of box tape down and made like a mat for this. So you're going to use this this tape as a transfer, kind of like a transfer plate would be. And I know there's another word for that. I can't remember what it is. But so you're going to just make you a little mat there to lay that transfer on. And then it will stick to that. And then you'll be able to just pick that tape up. And that will be a way that you can hold it. And then once you place that, then it will also hold it to your item and keep it from moving. And it worked perfectly. So I will be doing this definitely in the future, especially on an item like this where it's really hard to keep it secure. But as you can see, that was very simple there. It was much easier than trying to make sure I kept one hand on it all the time. And as I've said before, I learned so much from my viewers. But as you can see, I'm going to show you the difference. The other one was a slight smudge, but the second one was perfect and crisp. So that definitely was a great idea. Thank you so much. I can't remember who told me that, but it was a great idea. So for the other pieces, I decided to do a two-tone. So I'm using the color buttercream, and because there was so much detail and good tarnish on these, then I decided to just paint the main part of these and then leave the legs and arms on this one, or handles on this one. And then for this one, I decided to leave the base and the trim on it and the handle. And you have to be careful, but the good thing is if you get paint where you don't want it, it wipes off very easily. So I just very carefully on all three of these pieces, actually, because as you can see, I did the little saucer as well. And so I just do 2 coats on these and then let them dry. And I'm going to be, for this picture, I decided that I just wanted to leave it plain and not put a stamp on it. But I'm going to be putting a transfer on the little saucer and a stamp on the little sugar bowl cup. This is just a little bit tedious, like I said, but it really doesn't take that long at all, and it's well worth the extra trouble. I almost did these white completely, or buttercream completely, but like I said, there was just so much pretty tarnish on these that I hated to waste that. And when I painted this picture, there was a good place to stop my white and still be able to leave the inside in the silver plate. So I really like how this turned out. And I decided on this saucer to put this little transfer. And it was left over from another transfer sheet. I do know it was a Dixie Belle transfer. I can't remember which one this one was left over from. But I thought about putting this on the picture itself, but I decided I wanted to leave that picture just plain, so I ended up putting it on the saucer, and I thought it was a really good fit, and I really liked the look of it. And as it turns out, I took this little saucer and the picture home, and I have it displayed in my bedroom. And then for the little sugar bowl, I used another transfer from the set Vintage Post, and put that on the front of it. And because of the shape of this one, I ended up having to I cut my transfer out that I wanted on the front, but in order to place it right, I had to cut it into 3 parts and put it on separate. And as you can see, it's a little more tedious this way, but it really does make a difference, because there's no way you could put that solid plastic sheet on the front of this and get it to lay right. And I was glad I took the extra time and left some of the silver showing on these, because I really like the look that I ended up with. And because we're working with silver pieces here, I decided to make my ornament from a silver spoon. So again, this isn't real, but I wanted to make a little shabby chic ornament with this. So I thought about painting it. And as it turns out, I don't know, maybe I should have. I may even go back and paint what's showing. I can't decide if I like it left this way or not. But most likely I will go back and paint it. But I just found this little image here, little Christmas Santa, and I think this is one that I at one time had printed as a free image from the Graphics Fairy. And it's just an old-fashioned Santa, and so I just tore it so that the ends wouldn't be straight, and then add some antiquing ink around the edges. And because this is just on thin paper, I'm going to go back and add some cardboard to the back of it to give it some strength. But now I'm going to add some texture to the back of these. And I thought about putting this lace on, and then that's where I decided that I needed to stiffen that image up. But then I added some cheesecloth, and it's just some cheesecloth that's been coffee stained. And I'm just going to kind of wad it up and hot glue it on, and adding some sort of fabric that is kind of wadded or scrunched up is a real good way to add some texture. So I just put a little glue on there and just kind of scrunch it up, and now I'm adding another layer with some lace, and I'm careful to leave a little bit of that cheesecloth still showing. Now, I thought about adding some music while I did this one, like I've been doing some of my other ones, but I had someone complain that looping of music is irritating, so kind of wanted your all's opinion if you want me to just continue to talk through it or play music, but I'm open to suggestions. So once I add that texture behind this, and it also adds a little lift, then I added this cardboard and to the back to kind of, like I said, to stiffen it up and kind of raise it up also, because I'm going to be adding some lift behind it with some little circles, and so I wanted those edges not to curl up, so that was another reason for needing that cardboard on the back. This would make a really pretty ornament if you had some old costume jewelry that you could kind of layer up in this. But I don't really buy much costume jewelry for my crafts, and so I rely on buttons and things like that. But I do think that it would be really pretty as an ornament. So essentially what we're doing here is just creating a collage, and collages are very simple because you don't have to have a perfect order for them. Just do what is pleasing to your eye. And this silver plate is very easy to drill, so I just take a small drill bit and drill a hole in the top of it, and then put a regular ornament hanger on there. And then I'm going to add even more texture with some more lace. And I don't generally buy my lace new. I don't usually buy it by the spool unless I can thrift it at a good price, because it can really get pricey. But I buy lace in different forms. I'll buy old clothing that I can get at a good price and cut the lace off of it, or old curtain panels, or if you have some doilies that are stained badly or damaged badly, then you can cut the lace off those. But you can even buy it by the, you can buy like I think it's 1.5 yards at Walmart that's already pre-cut for like $4, and then you can just cut it into strips and use that for your lace ribbon. So there's lots of ways to get lace without having to spend a lot of money. Now I'm just going to add some buttons and beads and just kind of fill in where I feel like it needs. And a couple of these beads are pulling out that green there from the Christmas tree. So just kind of watch your image and just try to pull out some of those colors, and that helps. I didn't mention that when you're using lace that is new or looks new and you want it to have more of a vintage look, you can either dip it in coffee and let it dry, or you can do like I've done with this lace laying here, and I just used my antiquing ink and just kind of laid it on a paper and rubbed it until I got enough aging to it. Then you don't have to wait on it to dry before you craft with it. So I just kind of fill in until I feel like it has enough balance. And then I'm going to take the lace that I've already used my antiquing ink on, and I'll just tie a bow on the end of the spoon just below the hanger. And I really like that I've cut this lace and not used the kind that is manufactured that way, because it gives it a looser, more rustic look, and I just really like that look. And you just want it to be kind of flowy and hang down. So I would make sure and cut it long enough that you have some hanging, because I feel like that adds a lot to the shabby chic look also. And then I decided that I wanted a little shabby bow here on the top of the spoon part. So I just cut some little strips of fabric and tied them together in the center. I probably used about 6 to 8 little strips of fabric, and then tie them together in the center, and then I'll just glue that just above the Christmas tree, and I felt like that kind of balanced it out a little better. These little bows are very easy to do because you're just using strips of scrap, and then as long as you tie it in the center, then it's going to look like a bow. And then I just hot glue that to the very top there, and then that's all that this little ornament needed. And like I said, I may go back and paint it. I do like it like this, but I almost think that if I were to paint this a buttercream, it would be prettier. Now, when you do these ornaments, instead of adding a hanger, you can also curl that top down and kind of like a fish hook. So you'll curl it backwards, kind of like a fish hook at the top, and you can hang it that way. But I just kind of wanted to have the straight look on this one. And then there are all my items completed. And like I said, a couple of those, the saucer and the pitcher, I kept for myself, but the rest of them I put in the store. And I didn't have time to make the hang tags and film them, so I didn't do hang tags on these. This is the first time that I've painted, partially painted silver plate like this, and I really like the way it turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.